Subscribe now to Law Society of America, where justice meets knowledge. The Second Amendment of the United States Constitution, just 27 words, has ignited centuries of debate, courtroom battles, and political wars. It reads, "A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." Ratified in 1791, this amendment was written in the aftermath of a revolution, where citizens had fought for independence and wanted to protect themselves from future tyranny, even from their own government. Today, those words form the core of America's gun culture. Over 393 million civilian firearms are estimated to exist in the U.S., more guns than people. For many, owning a firearm is not just a right, but a symbol of freedom, independence, and protection. But this right comes with a deadly cost. America faces mass shootings, gun-related suicides, and rising firearm deaths unlike any other developed country. And at the center of every heated debate, courtroom argument, or legislative bill is the Second Amendment. Supporters of gun rights see the amendment as absolute, a defense against criminals, against tyranny, and against erosion of individual liberty. The National Rifle Association, known as the NRA, has led the charge in protecting this right, lobbying, campaigning, and influencing lawmakers at every level. Opponents of unrestricted gun ownership argue that the founders could never have envisioned modern automatic weapons, bump stocks, ghost guns, or 3D printed firearms. They believe regulation isn't an attack on freedom, it's an act of public safety. The U.S. Supreme Court has played a major role in interpreting the Second Amendment. In 2008, the landmark case District of Columbia v. Heller ruled that individuals have the right to possess firearms, even without service in a militia. This was a turning point in American legal history. 2 years later, mcdonald v. City of Chicago extended that interpretation to the states, making the right to bear arms nationwide in scope. But legal battles didn't end there. In 2022, the Supreme Court ruled in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruen, striking down a law that required citizens to prove proper cause to carry a concealed weapon. The ruling broadened gun rights and raised alarms for public safety advocates. Still, every school shooting, every mass killing, every gun tragedy reignites the national conversation. How many more lives? How many more children? How many more headlines before something changes? Politically, the divide is clear. Democrats often push for regulations, background checks, red flag laws, and assault weapon bans. Republicans, largely aligned with gun rights groups, argue that such measures punish law-abiding citizens instead of criminals. Most Americans, gun owners included, support basic regulations. Yet laws rarely pass. Why? Because the Second Amendment isn't just a law. It's a legacy. And it's backed by one of the most powerful lobbying forces in the country. The cultural impact is just as deep. The Second Amendment appears on T-shirts, bumper stickers, tattoos, protest signs, and campaign slogans. It's part of the American identity, both celebrated and feared. Globally, other nations wonder why the United States, the most developed democracy in the world, allows so much gun violence. Countries like Australia and the UK implemented strict gun control after mass shootings. The US, however, remains divided. Technology only complicates the issue, with ghost guns, homemade weapons, and firearm mods challenging law enforcement and regulators. So what lies ahead? Will courts continue to expand gun rights? Will Congress ever find common ground? Can the country honor the Constitution while protecting innocent lives? The answers aren't simple. But the questions are urgent. This is Law Society of America. And we're here to explore the laws shaping your world. Subscribe now for more in-depth coverage of American legal issues, history, and justice.